is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the headlines, President Trump just pulled the plug on his Budapest summit with Putin, saying the meeting didn't feel right. At the same time, the U.S. hits Russian oil companies with fresh sanctions. Tensions heat up ahead of the UN vote on the U.S. trade blockade against Cuba. Havana accuses Washington of pressuring countries to oppose lifting the embargo. The International Court of Justice orders Israel to lift its ban on UN aid to Gaza, but Israel strongly rejects the ruling. Details next. Japan on high alert. Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi faces her first major security test after North Korea fires multiple ballistic missiles just a day after she took office. Don't deflect, be accountable. Former Philippines Defense Chief Norberto Gonzales urges the Marcos Jr. administration to confront corruption within its ranks. Shaken but unbroken. Davao Oriental residents rebuild after the powerful magnitude 7.4 earthquake with the help and hope from the SMNI Foundation Inc. And in women's cricket, Australia dominates once again. Annabelle Sutherland shines with bat and ball as the Aussies cruise past England in indoor. I'm Carlo Dela Peña. Newsline World starts now. Tensions are rising ahead of the United Nations General Assembly vote on the U.S. trade blockade against Cuba. Havana is now accusing Washington of using intimidating and deceptive pressure to sway other countries' positions. Jomel Santos has the details.
Cuban Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez accused Washington on using intimidating and deceptive pressure on other countries to oppose the lifting of the United States blockade against the island. Rodriguez made a claim during a press briefing in Havana on Wednesday, saying the U.S. has been targeting nations, especially in South America and Europe, ahead of the upcoming UN General Assembly vote.
Tenemos información fidedigna de presiones intimidatorias y engañosas que está ejerciendo el gobierno de Estados Unidos sobre varios países, especialmente de América Latina y Europa, con el objetivo de conminarlos, obligarlos a modificar la posición tradicional histórica que han asumido y sostienen en apoyo a la resolución contra el bloqueo.
The Cuban diplomat also accused Washington of spreading misinformation to distort Cuba's image and influence voting behavior. Cuba has been under the U.S. trade embargo since the 1960s. The measure was strengthened during Donald Trump's presidency, reversing earlier efforts to normalize ties. The U.S. imposed the trade blockade in the early 1960s after Fidel Castro's government nationalized American-owned businesses and aligned with the Soviet Union. Washington said the measure aimed to pressure Havana toward democracy, but critics argue it has mainly accused economic hardship for ordinary Cubans. The annual UN resolution calling for the blockade's end has consistently received overwhelming international support, with only the United States and Israel voting against it. This year's debate and vote on the resolution is set for the 28th of October. Reporting for Newsline World, Jomo Santos, SMNI News.
Interim Peruvian President Jose Heri led a major security operation at Lurigancho prison in eastern Lima on Wednesday, as the government's 30-day state of emergency in metropolitan Lima and Callao officially took effect. Eve Buenafe reports.
Heri toured the Lurigancho prison alongside Interior Minister Vicente Tiburcio Urbezo and National Penitentiary Institute Chief Ivan Paredes Yataco. Authorities seized dozens of sharp objects, scissors, drugs, phone charges and mobile phones used by inmates to run extortion schemes from inside prison cells. The Peruvian government said the operation involved around 100 personnel, including special agents, police officers, and public prosecutors. The state of emergency allows the armed forces to assist police in patrolling streets and prisons to curb crime and block illegal communications inside penitentiaries. Military personnel are now deployed across Lima and Callao, including at train stations and major avenues like Angamos, to strengthen security and restore public order. The measure limits movement in high-risk areas and is meant to address a surge in assaults and extortion cases.
Ya se nos cerró tanto el círculo de la inestabilidad, de la inseguridad, que todo lo normalizamos. Yo camino ahorita con miedo, me imagino que ellos también están, todo el mundo camina con miedo agarrando así mi bolsa, porque simplemente no podemos confiar en nadie. La pobre policía que está maltratada, no tenemos en quién confiar. Pero bueno, son medidas que toma el gobierno y que hay que acatar.
While some citizens expressed hope the military presence would help reduce crime, others doubted its effectiveness and criticized repeated emergency declarations. The 30-day state of emergency in Lima and Callao marks the government's latest effort to tackle insecurity and organized crime as citizens weigh the cost of safety against the loss of civil freedoms. Eve Buenafe, your citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
Japan's new Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi placed the country on heightened alert following reports that North Korea fired several short-range ballistic missiles on Wednesday, her first major security test since taking office a day earlier. South Korea's military reported that North Korea launched multiple short-range ballistic missiles from its southern North Hwanghae province. The projectiles reportedly flew about 350 kilometers northeast before landing in the waters off North Hamgyong province. Japanese authorities confirmed that none of the missiles entered Japan's territorial waters or exclusive economic zone. No damage or casualties have been reported.
今確認いたしましたところ、我が国の領海や排他的経済水域へのミサイルの飛来というのは確認をされておりません。ただ、また関係機関から被害報告などの情報も確認をされておりません。しかし、高市内閣といたしましては、国民の皆様の安全に万全を期すために、ただいま防衛大臣、また外務大臣に引き続きこの必要な情報の収集、分析を行うよう指示をしたところでございます。私から以上です。
Takaichi said Japan has strengthened coordination with the United States and South Korea in response to Pyongyang's actions. The incident underscores the regional security challenges facing the new prime minister. Meanwhile, North Korea has not yet commented on the reported launches. Former Philippine Defense Secretary Norberto Gonzales is calling on those conducting the investigation into the alleged anomalous flood control projects not to shift the blame to critics or the previous administration. He said the focus should be on the current issue to hold the real culprits accountable. This report from Almar Forzuelo.
Hindi relevant yung nangyaring mga korupsyon sa panahon ni Duterte. Ibang usapan yun. Yung kay Chavez Singson, ibang usapan din yan. No, pero hindi yan makakatulong para masolve yung problema ng korupsyon na nangyayari ngayon.
This was the statement of former Department of National Defense or DND Secretary Norberto Gonzales following what seems to be a shift in tone regarding the ongoing investigation into the widespread corruption in the country. In an exclusive interview with SMNI News, Gonzales said it would not help if the current administration diverts the real issue and shift the blame to the opposition. While he clarified that he is not claiming the previous administration or Duterte's allies were free from corruption, he stressed that those currently embezzling public funds must first be held accountable.
Tingin ko, kunyari, ginawi kay Chavez Singson, no? O yung binabanggit na marami din naman nangyaring korupsyon ng panahon ni Duterte. Yung binabanggit na, pinakikita. Alam mo, hindi natin sasabihin hindi totoo yung accusation kay Chavez. Hindi natin pwedeng sabihin na wala talaga nangyaring korupsyon noong panahon ni Duterte. Pero hindi makakatulong yan kung ang gusto mong gawin ay mapatunayan o hindi na nagkasala yung mga gawa ng korupsyon ngayon.
He added that the administration seems to be silencing its critics, including Vice President Sara Duterte, who is facing an impeachment complaint, and Chavez Singson, who was charged with plunder after speaking out against the government. In the end, Gonzales emphasized that the interests of the people should prevail and that the corrupt officials in the current administration must be held accountable.
Ang interes ng taong bayan, paano natin i-address yung korupsyon na nangyayari ngayon? Hindi po pwedeng isolve yan by saying na nangyari din noon yan eh. Ibig mo sabihin, dahil nangyari noong panahon ni Duterte, okay nang mangyari ngayon? Mali yan eh, maling logic yun. Ibig mo sabihin, dahil corrupt din si Singson, ay si Chavez Singson, ibig sabihin ba niyan, hindi na totoo yung mga sinasabi niya ngayon? Maling logic yan. Yan ang ginagawa nila ngayon.
The investigation stemmed from the massive flooding that submerged the large part of the country, following President Bongbong Marcos Jr.'s statement that thousands of flood control projects had supposedly been completed under his administration. For God and my beloved Philippines, Almar Forsuelo, SMNI News.
The Philippines Bureau of Customs is set to begin the auction or sale of 13 luxury cars owned by the Discayas next month. According to the agency, the vehicles lack proper documentation, making it impossible to prove that they were legally brought into the country. The agency, however, assured that the vehicles to be auctioned are safe and have undergone the proper procedures. This report from Margot Gonzalez.
The Bureau of Customs has scheduled the public auction of 13 luxury vehicles linked to the Discayas on November 15. According to Customs Assistant Commissioner Attorney Vincent Maronilla, the documents submitted by the Discayas were insufficient to prove that the luxury vehicles were legally imported into the country. This paved the way for the government to proceed with the auction of the said vehicles.
In fact, incompleteness of being sure that it was actually legally imported to the Philippines is the basis why we are forfeiting these cars and scheduling them for auction already.
According to Maronilla, the total value of the luxury cars to be auctioned ranges from 100 to 200 million pesos, and the proceeds will be allocated to the government's priority projects. The agency also assured that the luxury cars are safe and that buyers have nothing to worry about.
These cars will be sold by the Bureau of Customs. So kung bibili nyo po sila, nakakasiguro po kayo na hindi na siya hahabulin, dadaan po sa tamang proseso since meron po naman kaming i-issue na certification sa inyo na nabili nyo po yan sa auction. So maayos nyo po magagamit yan.
Although the exact venue has yet to be confirmed, the auction may be held at a VOC facility once a suitable space is found. Maronilla added that charges may be filed against the illegal importers of the vehicles, and if it is proven that the Discayas conspired with them, they will also face the same complaints.
Makakabit mo lang naman yung mga Discaya if they're in cahoots with the importer, and therefore the principle of conspiracy will apply. Kung ano man yung kakaso mo dun sa importer, yun din ay kakaso mo sa kanila.
Meanwhile, 10 customs personnel have already submitted their response to the show cause order in connection with the smuggling of the vehicles. The agency will release the results of its investigation once a resolution has been reached. For God and beloved Philippines, this has been Margot Gonzalez, SMNI News.
Multiple charges have been filed by a private group against Tarlac 3rd District Representative Noel Bong Rivera, his wife Concepcion, who also served as Vice Mayor of Tarlac, and DPWH 1st District Engineer Nir Farala. More on this report from Sheena Torno.
Representative Noel Bong Rivera and his wife Concepcion Tarlac Vice Mayor Evelyn Rivera are now facing charges of plunder and other administrative cases, including abuse of authority, grave misconduct, and violation of the Government Procurement Act. Also included in the same complaint is DPWH Tarlac 1st District Engineer Nil Farala in connection with the alleged anomaly. Based on documents filed before the Office of the Ombudsman, it appears that Tarlac 3G Construction and Development Corporation, a company owned by the the Rivera couple secured 13 contracts from the DPWH amounting to nearly $500 million pesos. It can also be seen on the official Facebook page of the lawmaker that he himself serves as the chief executive officer of the said company, further strengthening allegations of conflict of interest and violations of existing laws on divestment and public accountability.
Siya ay sitting congressman mula noong 2022 at re-elected nitong 2025. Pero siya ay kontraktor at ang matindi, siya yung pumipirma ng mga kontrata sa DPWH. Ito ay hindi karapat-dapat bilang isang congressman. Hindi siya nag-divest, may conflict of interest. Yung asawa niya, siya yung sitting vice mayor ngayon ng Concepcion Tarlac. Siya yung ingat yaman ng kanilang korporasyon.
Among the projects obtained by the couple's company is a 12 million pesos flood control project in Barangay Santa Maria, Concepcion, Tarlac. Just last year, they also secured a 141 million pesos contract for the construction of a road project. It was also discovered that they allegedly acquired contracts not only within their own district but also in other parts of Tarlac. The group likewise questioned the sudden wealth of the Rivera couple, which they claim does not correspond to their earnings. As a public officials, a possible indication of unexplained wealth or ill-gotten assets.
Yung unexplained wealth, yung mga mansions nila, yung mga resort nila sa Zambales, yung mga lupain nila, meron silang more or less 80 hectares sa isang lugar, Concepcion.
The group is calling on DPWH Secretary Vince Dizon to also investigate the alleged corruption committed by the district engineer.
Nagsangkuatan sila, definitely. May conspiracy dito. Kasi alam niya congressman siya, alam ni district engineer na congressman siya, pero binibigyan siya ng kontrata siguro gamit ang kanyang influensya.
The group has also expressed willingness to submit the evidence they gathered against the Rivera couple and the DPWH Tarlac District Engineer to the Independent Commission for Infrastructure or ICI. Meanwhile, SMNI News remains open to airing the side of the Rivera couple and the District Engineer regarding the allegations filed against them before the Office of the Ombudsman. For God and for my beloved Philippines, this has been Sheena Torno, SMNI News.
When we come back, President Trump just pulled the plug on his Budapest summit with Putin, saying the meeting didn't feel right. At the same time, the U.S. hits Russian oil companies with fresh sanctions. And the International Court of Justice orders Israel to lift its ban on UNA to Gaza. But Israel strongly rejects the ruling. Details next. More news after the break.
Isang pindot lang, pwede kang maka-jackpot. Mukhang masaya at easy money lang. Sa murang halaga, pwede ka na tumaya sa online gambling at e-casino apps. Mayroong sabong, slot machines, mahjong, poker at iba pa. Kailangan mo lang ng smartphone, e-wallet at internet. Pero ang aliw na ito, unti-unting nagiging bitag para sa mga Pilipino. Lalo na kung ang paborito mong artista o influencer ang mukha ng app. Mas madaling makaengganyo, diba? Parang safe naman kasi may kilalang mukha. Pero sa likod ng ngiti, sugal pa rin ang itinutulak. At syempre, mas madali ring itago ang pagkalulong sa bisyong ito. Walang pisikal na kasino o pasugalan, walang kaharap, walang accountability, kaya't mas lumalala ang adiksyon. Dagdag pa rito, maraming online gambling apps at walang regulasyon. Sa likod ng mga makukulay na interface at papremyo, nakatago ang problemang bumabalot ngayon sa bansa. Ang pagkalulong ng maraming Pilipino sa online gambling. Pwede maglaro kahit saan, kahit kailan, kahit sino, bata man o matanda, pwedeng malulong. Ayon sa mga eksperto, ang pagkakalulong sa online gambling ay nagdudulot ng matinding stress at anxiety, pagkakabaon sa utang, pagkawasak ng pamilya, pagkawala ng tiwala sa sarili. At tulad ng ibang bisyo, may mga senyales ito tulad ng hindi makapagpigil kahit walang pera, palihim na tumataya, pagpapabaya sa trabaho, pamilya o sarili. Sa bawat taya, may mga taong tunay na kumikita, mga malalaking negosyante at investors na negosyo ang bisyo ng masa. nila. Para sa kanila, perang pumapasok lang ito, pero para sa ordinaryong Pilipino, kabuhayan at relasyon ang nauubos. At ang masakit, tila matagal itong nahayaan. Hindi ito naging prioridad ng mga nakaupo sa taas hanggang sa sobrang lumala at halos naapektuhan na ang buong komunidad. Ngayon, sa dami ng nalulung at sa laki ng pinsalang naidulot, sa kapalalong umugong ang mga panukalang batas para higpitan ng online gambling, gaya ng pagbabawal sa paggamit ng e-wallets para tumaya, pagtaas ng minimum bet, mas mahigpit na identity verification, pag-block ng mga illegal na gambling sites, at bawasan o ipagbawal ang mga ads na target ang kabataan. Maaari itong magmukhang laro lang, pero sa katotohanan, isa itong sugal sa kinabukasan. Ang kita na dapat sa mga pangunahing pangangailangan o ipon na uubos sa sugal. At sa mundo ng online gambling, mas madali kang matalo kaysa manalo. Huwag hayaang sugal ang magdikta sa iyong buhay. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
Sa kabila ng mga mas modernong kaalaman at teknolohiya, nananatiling matindi ang banta ng HIV sa Pilipinas. Pero gaano nga ba kalala ang sitwasyon? Ang HIV o Human Immunodeficiency Virus ay isang sakit na sumisira sa immune system ng katawan. Ngunit tandaan, hindi ito nakukuha sa simpleng pakikisalamuha. Hindi mo agad mararamdaman, pero unti-unti nitong pinapahina ang katawan. At kapag hindi naagapan, humahantong ito sa AIDS, ang huling yugto na impeksyon, kung saan halos wala ng panlaban ng katawan laban sa sakit. Patuloy na dumadami ang kaso ng sakit na ito sa Pilipinas. Isang nakababahalang pagtaas. Umabot na sa 500% ang itinaas ng HIV cases sa mga kabataang edad 15 hanggang 25. Ayon mismo sa Department of Health, 56 na bagong kaso ang naitatala kada araw sa bansa mula Enero hanggang Marso 2025. At ang pinakamatinding apektado, ang kalalakihan at kabataang Pilipino. Dahil dito, ang Pilipinas na ngayon ang may pinakamataas na bilang ng bagong kaso ng HIV sa buong Western Pacific region. Isang indikasyon ng lumulubahang sitwasyon. Kaya nananawagan ng Department of Health gawing opisyal at urgent ang laban sa HIV sa pamamagitan ng isang Public Health Emergency Declaration. Kalalakihan ng pangunahing apektado. 95% ng bagong kaso ay lalaki. Mahigit 1/4 ay kabataang nasa edad 15 hanggang 24. Habang wala pang deklarasyon, patuloy ang DOH sa mga sumusunod na hakbang: HIV testing, libreng gamot, self-test kits, at pakikipagtulungan sa DepEd para sa edukasyon sa mga paaralan. Isinulong rin ng DOH ang online patient appointment system para sa HIV patients. Layunin nitong gawing mas madali at mas personal ang pag-access sa libreng gamutan at konsultasyon ayon sa schedule ng pasyente. Ang HIV ay hindi tulad ng flu. Hindi ito basta naipapasa sa hangin. Ito ay naipapasa sa pamamagitan ng personal na desisyon. Kailangan din nating pagtuunan ng pansin ang ugali, disiplina at personal na responsibilidad. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
Matapos ang trahedya sa Cebu, muling sinubok ang ating bansa. Noong Oktubre 10, tinamaan ang Davao Oriental ang dalawang magkasunod na matitinding lindol na may 7.4 at 6.8 magnitude kasama ang marami pang aftershocks. Nagdulot ito ng matinding takot at pangamba sa maraming pamilya sa rehiyon. Matapos ang matagumpay na serye ng relief operations sa mga bayan na nasalanta sa Cebu, tutungo naman ang SMNI Foundation Inc. sa Davao Oriental upang maghatid ng tulong sa tulong ng ating tapat na sponsors at donors, kabilang ang ilan na pinipiling manatiling hindi nagpapakilala. Malapit nang maabot ng misyon ng malasakit na ito ang ating mga kababayang nangangailangan. Magpapatuloy ang SMNI Foundation sa pagsasagawa ng sunod-sunod na relief operations sa mga lugar ng matinding tinamaan. Maaari kayong maging bahagi ng misyong ito. Para sa mga nais magbigay ng tulong sa mga biktima ng lindol, maaaring magpadala ng donasyon sa GCash sa +63 995 284 9117 o +63 917 714 1820. Sa ngalan ng mga benepisyaryo, taos-puso naming ipinapaabot ang aming pasasalamat sa lahat ng tumutulong upang maibalik ang pag-asa at ginhawa sa ating mga kababayan sa Davao Oriental.
Maging ligtas, maging handa. Narito ang ilang paalala kung sakaling tumama ang lindol. Maghanda ng emergency kits na may lamang flashlight, pito, first aid kit, tubig at pagkain. Alamin ang emergency exits sa inyong bahay, paaralan o opisina. Habang lumilindol, magtago sa ilalim ng matibay na lamesa upang maprotektahan ang sarili sa mga nahuhulog na bagay. Lumayo sa mga bintana at mabibigat na gamit na maaaring mahulog. Kung ikaw ay nasa labas, lumayo sa mga gusali, puno o poste na maaaring matumba. Kung ikaw ay nagmamaneho, itabi at ihinto ang sasakyan at lumabas. Pagkatapos ng lindol, gamitin ang hagdan sa paglabas ng gusali at huwag gumamit ng elevator. Maging alerto sa aftershocks at manatili sa open space kung kinakailangan. Maging ligtas at maging handa sa anumang sakuna. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
Maging alerto at handa tuwing may bagyo. Upang manatiling ligtas, narito ang ilang mahahalagang paalala. Manatili sa loob ng bahay. Iwasan ang paglabas, lalo na kung malakas ang ulan at hangin. Mag-imbak ng pagkain at malinis na tubig. Maghanda ng emergency kit. Manatiling updated sa lagay ng panahon. Maghanda ng mga flashlight at extra baterya. Panatilihing fully charged ang iyong cellphone. I-secure ang mahahalagang dokumento sa waterproof na lalagyan. Patayin ang kuryente, gas at tubig kung may banta ng pagbaha. Alamin ang iyong local emergency hotlines. Putulin o tapyasan ang mga sanga ng puno na maaaring mabuwal sa malakas na ulan at hangin. Lumikas agad kung inabisuhan ng mga otoridad. Maging ligtas at maging handa sa panahon ng kalamidad. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
Sa tuwing bumabaha, hindi lang seguridad ang nalalagay sa alanganin, pati na rin ang kalusugan. Isa sa mga bantang dapat iwasan, ang leptospirosis. Ano nga ba ito? Ito ay isang sakit na dulot ng bakterya na tinatawag na leptospira. Nakukuha ito sa pamamagitan ng contact sa ihi ng mga hayop na may leptospira tulad ng mga daga. Pwede itong makuha sa pagsulong sa baha o pag-inom ng kontaminadong tubig. Nakakapasok ito sa katawan sa pamamagitan ng mga sugat, mata, ilong o bibig. Ang mga sintomas nito ay lagnat, mapulang mata, hirap umihi, masakit na tiyan, masakit na kalamnan, at masakit na ulo. Paano nga ba maiiwasan ang leptospirosis? Ugaliin ang tamang pagtatapon ng basura dahil ang mga maruruming lugar ang kadalasang pinupuntahan ng dagang may dalang leptospirosis. Iwasang lumusong, maglaro o lumangoy sa baha, lalo na kapag may sugat. Gumamit ng bota at gloves kung hindi maiiwasang lumusong sa tubig baha. Sugpuin ang mga daga sa bahay at panatilihin ang kalinisan sa komunidad. Hugasan ng malinis na tubig at sabon ang mga paa matapos lumusong sa baha. Sa kalinisan ng bawat isa, nakasalalay ang kaligtasan ng buong komunidad. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
Hala, magnanakaw!
Magnanakaw! Magnanakaw!
Uy, magnanakaw!
Magnanakaw! Magnanakaw!
Ano kayang gagawin ko? Ipamimigay ko yung konti para tumigil sila sa pag-iingay.
Pare, magnanakaw, namimigay ng pera.
Ito ang sayo.
Wow! Ang bait ng magnanakaw!
Ito naman sayo.
Kuya, yung
eto
share ko! Sana
Huwag ka nang maingay. Eto pa. Tama na yan. Nakikipalato lang kayo eh. Huwag nang maingay. Diba? Konti lang pinamigay ko, mabait na ako. Tahimik na sila. Easy. Ngayon, pwede ko na tong suluhin.
Masaya ang mga tao, pero tama po ba ito? Di po ba ang nakikinabang sa magnanakaw ay kasabwat ng magnanakaw?
Ikaw, kinukonsenti mo ba ang legal na korupsyon?
The United Nations highest court has ruled that Israel must allow the flow of humanitarian aid into Gaza through UNRWA, the UN's Palestinian Relief Agency, after months of blockade and accusations. This report from Carla Dela Peña.
At The Hague, the International Court of Justice or ICJ ordered Israel to resume cooperation with the UN's Relief and Works Agency and other humanitarian groups delivering aid to civilians in Gaza. ICJ President Yuji Iwasawa said Israel restrictions on UNRWA undermine basic human rights protections in the occupied Palestinian territories. The court also dismissed Israel's claims that UNRWA had violated its neutrality, saying there was no evidence the agency discriminated against or employed members of Hamas.
The court notes that based on the case file, there is no evidence that UNRWA as an entity breached the principle of impartiality within the meaning of Article 59. In other words, there is no evidence that UNRWA has discriminated with respect to nationality, race, religious belief, class, or political opinion during its distribution of humanitarian aid and provision of services in the occupied Palestinian territory.
Israel banned UNRWA from operating in its territory and the occupied areas last year, accusing the agency of being infiltrated by Hamas and complicit in the October 7 attacks. Israel's main argument of blocking UNRWA's operation is that the organization is no longer neutral or impartial due to Hamas infiltrating UNRWA within. The organization denies this allegation. The ICJ warned Israel against any further actions that impede aid delivery, calling on it to cooperate with the international agencies to meet its humanitarian obligations. Israel's foreign ministry, meanwhile, responded that it categorically rejects ICJ's opinion. It also stated that Israel will not cooperate with an organization that is infested with terror activities. ICJ's ruling was also dismissed as entirely predictable and that the ruling will not be recognized. For God in my beloved Philippines, Carla Abellana, SMNI News.
Meanwhile, during the Ruta and Trump meet at the White House, the NATO chief clarified that there is no Secretary General peace plan for Russia and Ukraine, amid reports that he is set to present once he and Trump meet. Here's what he said.
There is no Secretary General peace plan. But I'm here, I really want to correct it because I saw some of that in the media. Of course, many people are thinking how to bring this terrible war to an end and supporting the President in doing that. Why I'm here is to dialogue again with the President how I can be, how NATO, my colleagues and other colleagues in NATO can be of maximum support to get that done. But there is no peace plan on the table. If there is a peace plan, it is what the President said last Friday and Sunday, which is stop where you are, stop the fighting.
United States President Donald Trump says Washington will not help Ukraine fire long-range Tomahawk missiles at Russian targets. This comes amid warnings that sending Tomahawks to Kiev would risk direct American involvement in the war. Franco Baranda files this report.
But I'm here not
At the White House with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, U.S. President Donald Trump stressed that America will not fire Tomahawk missiles on Ukraine's behalf nor help Kyiv operate them. Trump stressed that Tomahawk missiles capable of striking targets more than 2,500 kilometers away require extensive training that could take months or even a year.
They're highly complex. So the only way a Tomahawk is going to be shot is if we shot it, and we're not going to do that.
Trump added that the U.S. would not train Ukrainian troops to operate the system and warned that authorizing strikes deep inside Russia could lead to a dangerous escalation. Russian President Vladimir Putin has repeatedly warned against sending Tomahawks to Ukraine, saying it would be impossible to use without U.S. military personnel and would seriously harm any chance for peace. The Wall Street Journal recently reported that the U.S. had lifted restrictions on Ukraine's use of certain long-range missiles supplied by Western allies. But Trump quickly dismissed the story as a fake news, insisting that Washington has nothing to do with those weapons or how Ukraine uses them.
Said that I gave Ukraine permission to shoot missiles deep into Russia. I didn't do that. Second of all, they're not using our missiles. They're using, I think, European missiles or from someplace, but they're not using ours. And what they do, I don't control that, but I do control our missiles. They're not shooting our missiles, and it was a fake story. Wall Street Journal does a lot of fake stories.
For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, this has been Franco Baranda, SMNI News.
The Philippines Bureau of Corrections is calling for the doubling of the daily medical allowance for inmates or persons deprived of liberty from 15 pesos to 30 pesos person per day. During a Senate budget hearing, Bureau of Corrections Chief Gregorio Pio Catapang Jr. appealed to Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, chair of the Senate Finance Committee, for additional medical funding to improve healthcare inside prison facilities. Catapang emphasized that the additional allowance will significantly improve the delivery of healthcare services inside correctional facilities. He also backed a proposed medical parole bill which would allow the release of inmates aged 70 and above or those who are severely ill on humanitarian grounds. Catapang said many elderly inmates with chronic illnesses have limited ability to care for themselves and pose minimal risk to public safety. He added that the measure would help ease overcrowding in prisons and uphold the basic human rights of vulnerable detainees. Ombudsman Jesus Crispin Remulla expressed concern over the fire that occurred at the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH's Bureau of Research and Standards Office in Quezon City. During a Senate budget hearing, Bureau of Corrections Ombudsman Remulla will coordinate with the National Bureau of Investigation and the Bureau of Fire Protection to determine the cause of the incident and whether the fire at the agency may have been intentional. Remulla questioned the timing of the incident, noting that it happened while the investigation into anomalous projects, particularly in Quezon City, is still ongoing.
Siyempre, it's disturbing that in a place like Quezon City, masusunog yung record sa isang office na maraming investigation pa ang kinakailangan mangyari. So, we're just worried that it might stifle some or become an excuse to evade responsibility. But we will not allow that.
Meanwhile, the DPWH clarified that no documents related to the ongoing investigation into flood control anomalies were destroyed in the fire at the Bureau of Research and Standards building. Based on the initial investigation, the fire reportedly started from a computer unit inside the materials testing division that exploded. No employees were injured, and the DPWH has already sent an investigation team to determine the cause of the fire and to prevent similar incidents in the future. After the break, China and Malaysia wrap up naval drills off Port Klang, showcasing joint strength amid South China Sea tensions. And in women's cricket, Australia dominates once again. Annabel Sutherland shines with bat and ball as the Aussies cruise past England in indoor. And shaken but unbroken, Davao Oriental residents rebuilt after the powerful magnitude 7.4 earthquake with help and hope from the SMNI Foundation Inc. Stay tuned for more news.
Madalas ka bang napapasobra sa pag-scroll sa phone mo kahit puro masasamang balita ang nakikita mo? Isipin mo ito. Nakahiga ka na sa kama, nagche-check lang ng phone bago matulog. Tapos, hindi mo na malayan, ilang oras ka na palang nagbabasa at nanonood ng mga balita tungkol sa digmaan, sakuna, politika at lahat ng masasamang nangyayari sa mundo. Nakakaramdam ka na ng kaba at pagod. Pero tuloy mo pa rin ang scroll mo. Ang tawag dyan ay doom scrolling. Ito ang habit ng paulit-ulit na pagtingin sa mga negatibo o nakakadepress na content tulad ng digmaan, krimen o problema sa mundo. Nakaka-stress pero hindi mo pa rin mapigilan. Ayon sa isang pag-aaral ng Texas Tech University, ang sobrang konsumo ng masasamang balita ay nauugnay sa pagtaas ng stress, anxiety at pisikal na sintomas gaya ng pagkapagod at sakit ng ulo. Ayon naman sa Harvard Health, ang doom scrolling ay nagpapataas ng fight or flight hormones tulad ng cortisol at adrenaline na nakakapagpabigat ng isip at katawan. Nakakaapekto ito sa iyong mood, tulog at maging sa mental at physical health mo. At kapag naman puro memes at random na content ang pinapanood mo ng sunod-sunod hanggang sa mawalan ka na ng gana na mag-isip at gumawa ng iba pang gawain, ang tawag naman dyan ay brain rot. Sa Gen Z at tinatawag na internet culture, ang brain rot ay overconsumption o sobrang tagal na panonood ng paulit-ulit, mababaw, magulo o walang saysay na content online hanggang sa parang manhid na ang utak mo. Kapag nasobrahan, syempre, nakakasama. Nawawalan ka na ng focus, nawawala ang motivation, hirap mag-isip ng malalim, parang lutang o foggy ang utak. Masaya sa simula, pero kapag sobra, napapagod ang isip mo. Nahihirapang mag-concentrate at parang lutang. Mas delikado pa ito sa mga bata dahil ang utak nila ay nasa proseso pa ng pag-develop. Kaya mas malakas ang epekto ng doom scrolling at brain rot sa kanila. Maaaring makaapekto sa pag-aaral, pag-iisip at pakikitungo sa iba. Ang higit sa 4 na oras ng screen time araw-araw sa mga kabataan ay konektado sa 35 to 88% na mas mataas na posibilidad ng depresyon, anxiety at stress. Base ito sa isang malawakang pag-aaral sa Brazil. Kaya, maging balanse. Magpahinga sa screen, magbasa, makipagkwentuhan, magdasal, maging present lagi. Alagaan ang iyong isipan. Kung anong itinatanim sa isipan mo, yun ang lalago.
In 2005, Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy founded the Sunshine Philippines movement. A mission rooted in love for nature and nation. It began as an environmental and humanitarian initiative to reforest Mount Apo. Once barren, now a thriving and beautiful place. Through his initiative, thousands of trees have been planted across the Philippines, bringing life and hope to communities.
His advocacy, One Tree, One Nation, is also a movement that calls for unity in preserving the environment. Because every tree planted is a step towards unity, healing, and a greater future. Join One Tree, One Nation.
US President Donald Trump has called off his planned summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin, saying that talks did not feel right. But he's not ruling out a meeting in the future. The cancellation comes amid a new round of US sanctions imposed on Moscow. Joy Tabanao reports.
The second face-to-face between Presidents Trump and Putin in Budapest is now off, at least for now. U.S. President Donald Trump has canceled his planned summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin, expected to take place in Budapest. The announcement came during Trump's meeting with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte at the White House recently. For Trump, the upcoming meeting with Putin didn't feel right, but did not rule out talks at a later date.
President Putin, it didn't feel right to me. It didn't feel like we were going to get to the place we have to get, so I canceled it. But we'll do it in the future.
The move came shortly after the U.S. Treasury Department announced the new sanctions on Russia, citing what it called a lack of serious commitment to peace talks. The sanctions target major Russian oil companies Rosneft and Lukoil, along with 34 subsidiaries. But Trump admitted he's not certain the new restrictions will change Moscow's stance on the Ukraine conflict.
Hopefully he'll become reasonable, and hopefully Zelensky will be reasonable too. You know, it takes two to tango, as they say.
The Kremlin has yet to comment on the cancellation, but spokesperson Dmitry Peskov earlier said any U.S.-Russia meeting should be carefully prepared to ensure results. Plans for the Budapest summit had been discussed since last week, but for now, they're on hold, but says the door to dialogue remains open. Joy Tabanao, your citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
China and Malaysia have wrapped up joint naval drills off the coast of Port Klang, part of ongoing efforts to strengthen maritime coordination and regional cooperation. Paul Montibon has the news.
China and Malaysia held a 3-day naval exercise
dubbed as Peace and Friendship 2025 off the coast of Port Klang. Launched on October 15, naval forces from both countries carried out line training and escort missions, helicopter, resupply, and search and rescue operations. In one high-pressure scenario, ships from both sides worked together to rescue a missing sailor after a simulated distress call. The fleets also practiced communication, with both navies exchanging light and semaphore signals while sailing in formation, led by China's amphibious landing ship Jinshangshan, officials say. The exercises reflect growing military coordination between China and Malaysia, as both countries navigate rising tensions in South China Sea. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Paul Montebon, SMNI News.
For our showbiz news, kindness, music, and a little bit of Halloween magic. A brave toddler's dance to a Taylor Swift song melts hearts worldwide, earning a $100,000 gift from the pop superstar herself. And over the charts, Michael Jackson's Thriller is moonwalking back to #1 just in time for the spooky season. Stella Maris has a story.
The viral TikTok clip shows brave toddler Lila Smooth dancing joyfully to Taylor Swift, The Fate of Ophelia. Her mom said that Lila just put the song by herself and started dancing. Lila is bravely battling a rare and aggressive form of brain cancer. But when her adorable videos reached pop superstar Taylor Swift, the singer quietly donated $100,000 to Lila's GoFundMe campaign after seeing her story online. The generous gift came with a heartfelt message that read, "Sending the biggest hug to my friend Lila. Love, Taylor." The gesture left Lila's mother, Caitlin Smoot, in disbelief. She initially thought the donation was a prank until she saw Taylor's personal note. But the kindness didn't stop there. Once news of Taylor's donation spread, Swifties around the world began donating in symbolic amounts, many choosing $13, Taylor's lucky number, helping the fundraiser soar past $300,000. As The Fate of Ophelia continues to play in the background of Lila's adorable dance video, it's become an anthem of hope and connection, proof that Taylor Swift's influence extends far beyond music charts. What began as a sweet clip of a little girl dancing has grown into a worldwide movement of empathy and generosity, and the Swifties prove that. Meanwhile, with Halloween in full swing, a familiar classic is once again rising from the dead. Michael Jackson's Thriller is back on top of the charts. The iconic Halloween anthem has reclaimed the #1 spot on several Billboard charts, including the R&B Digital Song Sales ranking. Every year around this time, streams of Thriller surge, sometimes by more than 100%, as fans revisit the King of Pop's spooky masterpiece. Industry experts say the comeback is fueled by nostalgia, viral TikTok dance challenges, and Halloween playlist, keeping the track alive for a new generation. According to Luminate, between October 27 and November 2, Thriller received 14.5 million US streams, a 163% increase, along with 10 million radio airplay audience impressions, up 464%, and 5,000 downloads, representing a 102% rise. For Michael Jackson's estate, it's more than just a seasonal hit. It's proof that even 40 years later, Thriller still rules the dance floor every Halloween. So if you've been hearing "cause this is Thriller" on repeat this week, you're definitely not alone. This is Stella Maris, your citizen correspondent, bringing you the latest showbuzz.
Chelsea's young guns lit up Stamford Bridge with a 5-star performance against Ajax, while in indoor, Australia's all-round brilliance, led by Annabelle Sutherland and Ash Gardner, proved too strong for England's at the Women's Cricket World Cup. This report. Chelsea's youngsters delivered a stunning 5-1 win over Ajax in the Champions League at Stamford Bridge. Ajax went down to 10 men early after Kenneth Taylor's red card for a reckless tackle on Facundo Buonanotte. Mark Yu and Moises Caicedo quickly put Chelsea ahead before Wout Weghorst pulled one back from the spot. Enzo Fernandez answered with a penalty of his own, and teenager Estevao made it 4-1 before halftime. Tyreek George sealed the win with Chelsea's fifth early in the second half. Yu, Estevao, and George became the first trio of teenagers to score in one Champions League game for the same team. Manager Mauricio Pochettino praised Estevao's humility and talent, as Chelsea claimed their second group stage win and fourth straight victory in all competitions. Meanwhile, England made a strong start in indoor, with Amy Jones and Tammy Beaumont piling on early runs and Alice Capsey's quick fire 38 lifting them to 244, a total that always looked just short of par. Lauren Bell's early breakthrough and two more quick wickets put England on top briefly, but Australia's quality soon showed. Tournament leading wicket taker Annabel Sutherland delivered a near-perfect all-round performance, taking 3 wickets and scoring 98 runs to lead the chase. Ash Gardner's explosive partnership with Sutherland sealed the win comfortably with almost 10 overs to spare, as England once again found themselves learning a familiar lesson against their fiercest rivals. Despite clear signs of improvement in fitness, fielding, and intent, England's middle order struggles, highlighted by Sophia Dunkley and Emma Lamb's low returns, remain a concern. Australia's depth and consistency across all positions proved decisive, with different players stepping up when needed. For England, it was a reminder that even progress and passion aren't always enough against the world's most complete team. After the magnitude 7.4 earthquake that struck Davao Oriental on the 10th of October, residents continued to rise from the devastation brought by the disaster. Despite these challenges, their faith and hope remain unbroken. This story from Paul Montibon.
With every tremor that shakes the ground, with every dream that falls apart, and with every tear that is shed, a steadfast hope continues to endure. This is the story of Davao Oriental, a story of adversity, faith, and recovery. On October 10, 2025, a powerful earthquake with a magnitude of 7.4 struck the province of Davao Oriental, leaving widespread destruction, fear, and grief among its residents. Yet, amid the devastation, one thing remained constant: their unwavering hope and determination to rise again.
Ang Barangay San Ignacio ang itinuturing na pinakamalaking baryo dito sa bayan ng Manay. Kaya naman, isa rin ito sa pinakamalubhang na apektuhan matapos ang pagtama ng magnitude 7.4 na lindol dito sa Davao Oriental. Kagaya na lamang ng dalawang magkatabing bahay na ito na halos humalik na sa lupa ang kanilang mga bubong dahil sa lakas ng pagyanig.
During our visit to the area, we met Robert, who kept returning to what was once their home, now leveled by the recent calamity.
Kasi titiningin ko, akala ko pa na yung natira. Wala na pala natira, na talagang nadurog lahat siya.
What happened was not easy for Robert. He had poured his blood, sweat, and hard work into the house that now lies in ruins.
Bali, 90,000 gastos na ko lahat nito. Pero dandahan lang ko paggawa. Dahil yun nga, pag may pera, yun binibili ko pag materialis, pagka magkapira na ako. Ganon talaga. Ganon naman tayo magawa, nandyan na yan.
As for our Coleta, Her sorrow was evident upon seeing the condition of her grandchild's home. She said that just by looking at it, she could not imagine how her grandchild would be able to start over after the powerful earthquake destroyed their house.
Sana may nakakita ngayon at saka pangalawa sa balita. Ngayon nandito naman kayo, sana may kahit kunting tulong lang. Basta may magawa sila sa bahay nila. Matagal na kasi ito na bahay. Kaya ito ang nangyari ngayon.
For now, Robert and Arcoleta are among those who are slowly recovering from the tragedy. According to them, they hope that such a disaster will never happen again, especially given the hardships of life. But what matters most, they said, is that no one was hurt and no lives were lost.
Sana po ang hilingin nila namin sa Panginoon na may matirahan ang apo namin. At bigyan kami din ng magandang pangisip na hindi na sana maulit itong trahedya. Yun lang po. Dahil, paano pa makapaghanap buhay? Kahapon lang, o kagabi nga, may lindol pa, di ba? O yun. Paano kami makagalaw?
Supposed to feel to make the same mistakes, to be part of something real.
nag-iwan ng mga sugat pero hindi nito kinuha ang pag-asa. Ang mga residente ng Davao Oriental ay patuloy na lumalaban, patuloy na umaasa at sa bawat pagbangon kasama dyan ang mga tulong mula sa iba't ibang organisasyon. Kasama na dyan ang nag-iisang SMNI Foundation Incorporated sa ilalim ng pakipagtulungan ng mga donors at sponsors at sa misyon, walang Pilipinong may iwan. Lahat aabutin saan man panig ng mundo para sa mga nangangailangan. At kung tulong din lang ang pag-uusapan, tampok dito ang umaapaw ng mga biyaya mula sa SMNI Foundation. Sako-sakong bigas. Baldi-baldig mga grocery items. At galong-galong, malinis na inuming tubig. Wait, there's more. May libreng hot meals pa.
Nakita ko lang na ibigay nyo ngayon, malaki talaga. Malaki ano? Compare sa iba, mayroon naman tulong pero unlike dito na malaki, marami at saka parang kakaiba talaga. Sako-sako kasi. Sako-sako at saka yung mga groceries na ibigay nyo. Iba dito. Malaki tulong talaga.
As you can see, people are so overwhelmed with happiness, with joy, and they really embrace SMNI with so much gratitude and thankfulness for the magnitude of your help, especially to our beloved Pastor Apollo Kibuloy for having such a big heart to really bring something to the people who are in need of a lot of intervention. So we cannot, you see how it is? We cannot contain our happiness. Of course, with the way you are here, with your presence to us here in San Ignacio, Manay.
Pasalamat din ako sa ating pastor, mahal na pastor, Apollo Kibuloy, KOJC, no? Dahil lang sa kanyang tulong na agad-agaran kayo dumating, no? Lalo na ngayon, nung panahon na tinamaan tayo ng lindol, halos iparami na display sa tao. At ngayon, nakita natin na puhol kaya tulong, lalo sa SMNI. Sobra pa nga. Kaya nagpapasalamat po kami kay Pastor Apollo Kibuloy.
Marami na rin ako mga nakitang relief operations ng gobyerno and ibang private individuals and private sector. Talagang pagka SMNI Foundation Incorporated partner, pulido yan. Malinis at katulad ng lagi nating pinagmamalaki, dito zero corruption. Kaya kita nyo naman yung ating mga ipanamimigay, quality.
Kamu ang gibuhat nga instrumento ni Pastor Apollo Kibuloy o kanamong diri nga natabangan sa biktima sa linog dinhi sa barangay San Ignacio. Dili namo matumbasan ang inyong gihatag bisan pa sa kalayo sa inyong gigikanan. Daghang salamat kayong tanan sa inyong tabang away hunong nga pagbugma kanamo. Salamat.
Daghan kay salamat sir kay dako kay nigtabang sa among kapobrehon karong panahon na labi na among balay naguba. Thank you kayo sa foundation sa SMNI.
Salamat kayo sa inyong gihatag. Tukad-tukad sir nahitabo yung ani kadaghan nga gihatag ninyo.
First time ako maka-express ng ani kadaghan ang mga hinabang nga gihatag nila. So nagapasalamat ko sa mga wala nagpailan ng mga sponsors Ang donor ani nga mga butang, daghang salamat kayo ang Ginoo magapanalangin kaninyo sa makadaghan. So daghang salamat. Salamat yo kayo, daghang kay salamat sa aning mga panalangin. Naglugos na kayo nigdala tungod kay sa sobrang panalangin. Salamat kayo.
Ako masayang-masaya sa tulong ng SMNI Foundation, sa lahat ng tulong nila. Ako masaya, malaking tulong sa pamilya ko ito na mga may bigas, may tubig at saka grocery. Maraming salamat sa SMNI Foundation at sa mga mga volunteer itong kanilang tulong sa amin. Maraming salamat po sa inyo. Malaking tulong po sa pamilya ko ito.
Daghang salamat sa nakaisip na padalanhan kami dito dahil sa amin doon.
Ano-anong natanggap mo?
Ang natanggap ko ay balde na may laman. Hindi ko nakita doon sa loob. At may tubig at rice. Maraming salamat.
Malaking tulong pa yan sa iyo.
Oo, malaki talaga ang tulong. Okay.
First time mo bang tumanggap ng sako-sako?
Opo, first time. Salamat sa inyong na.
Ito lang masasabi ko, salamat sa inyo lahat. Malaking tulong mula sa amin dahil sa ngayon wala kaming trabaho. Mapatulong na lang ako sa mga kasama ko dahil sobrang dami naman to, mahirapan ako pagdala.
Salamatay! Kapayo Tanan! SMNI Foundation! All sponsors!
In the midst of darkness, there is light. In the midst of fear, there is hope. And in the midst of an earthquake, there is recovery. Davao Oriental stands as a testament to the resilience of Filipino people, a hope that endures no matter what the trials. And among those who serve as beacons of that hope is the SMNI Foundation Incorporated, whose mission of compassion and service, together with generosity of its sponsors, makes recovery and renewal possible for many who continue to rise from the devastation. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Paul Montebon, SMNI News.
The SMNI Foundation Incorporated would like to thank all volunteers and generous sponsors who supported its relief operations and efforts for the earthquake victims in Davao Oriental. Those who wish to help the Foundation's ongoing mission may send their donations via GCash to 0995-284-9117 or 0917-714-1820. And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the Sun. It is up to our own freedom of choice to follow His will or to fall away. And for our Christmas countdown, only 63 days more to go before Christmas. And that's all for today's edition of Newsline World. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Carlo Dela Peña. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.